where is India when it comes to its semiconductor? They said we are like the SUVs where the world is in the Formula One, like be it Taiwan, Korea, and US.
See, I think we need to be realistic. And the important thing is that semiconductors are about 6 decades in the making. I mean, sometime in the post-World War II is when the initial thought of having this kind of circuits, electronic circuits being built came up as an idea. And then in the 60s, it started getting developed and it grew rapidly, the so-called famous Moore's Law, and, they kept shrinking and so on. India started at about the same time with the establishment of the Semiconductor Lab, Mohali, but somehow it didn't go much further forward. I think, you can't say we've had other programs which went ahead, and including the space program, and to some extent the space program was also supported by SCL. So many of the chips which even now fly on many of our rockets and other space vehicles have chips from SCL even today, and for a while SCL was actually under ISRO. So that is how the strategic objectives were linked. But at a commercial level, it did not really take off. A number of reasons for that. Many people felt that that level of advanced manufacturing could not be done in India. Second thing is that industry of that nature requires fairly high subsidies, and as a developing nation at that point in time, providing those subsidies was not easy. So you could only pick one or two major bets, and those subsidies were not provided. I think now finally we are in a position to provide the kind of subsidies that are needed to help an industry of this nature thrive. And I think that has been the significant development that you now see in the semiconductor space. But in a sense, we have to understand, relative to India's scale, this is probably the most generous government industrial policy program ever undertaken. The government of India provides a 50% subsidy for the build out of a semiconductor plant. On top of that, state governments give about half of that. So almost 75% of the cost is met in this manner. And more than anything else, usually when these subsidies are paid out, they pay out only after you've completed the project. In this case, we pay out those subsidies simultaneously.
And it's a huge number.
So basis, and the subsidy is huge, which brings me to the next point. So which means from India's own standpoint, the fact that we have put out about 76,000 crores for this project, and we have committed almost the entire amount, is, I think, a very, very significant measure. At the point when it was initiated, it was about $10 billion. But then you look at it relatively, you find that with this kind of money, which is difficult to afford in India's context even today, what is the technology that you can actually look at? For a number of reasons, we chose to go with mature nodes, right? Between 28 nanometers and about 110 nanometers. The reason for that is quite simple, that these are nodes where the technology is reasonably well established. And for a country which is just beginning in this area, it is better to go with well-established technology and succeed at it than take a very risky bet at a very high-end technology, which is also much more expensive. If you look at it, we are putting down $10 billion. A country like Japan is putting down $38 billion just to do two fabs, which are 12 nanometers and 2 nanometers, right? And the US is putting out something like $58 billion in subsidies. Now, given the size of their economies, given the level of their income, it's possible for them to put out subsidies of that order. India's case is a little different. So we have to, I think we have taken a wise bet we have to be in the semiconductor space. There is no question of not being there. It is a foundational industry. It's very fundamental to the way the entire electronics ecosystem works. And now electronics are embedded in practically everything you use. So which means that you have to be there. But having said that, you also have to be there in those spaces where it is most used. And the mature nodes is a very big market in itself. We have to understand, although the cutting edge has gone further, the use of mature node semiconductors is quite extensive in almost all the domestic electrical appliances you use, in all the auto electronics and what you use in cars. Most of those are in the mature nodes. Those are all chips which can actually get made in India and used fairly extensively. So I think we've chosen as a deliberate matter of policy to pick those segments where we have the best chance of success, which are where we can invest based on how big our purse is and what we can afford, and also which will have widespread use and the market is stable. So I think this is the basis on which these have been chosen. It doesn't mean that we can't develop beyond this. So we have to establish a solid base and then grow on top of that. So companies which actually establish these facilities at this level can then grow beyond that and do what needs to be done.